Hello, Homeworthy. Welcome to our apartment on the Upper East Side. I'm Alex.
I'm Scott.
And this is Cooper.
Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hi, I'm Alex Papachristidis, born and raised New Yorker, interior decorator, and my partner, Scott Nelson. This is our apartment, which I've decorated, and it is a labor of love that is layered and collected and personal. And sitting on my lap is Cooper.
Scott Nelson. I grew up in Minneapolis. I think at 6 years old, I said, someday I'm going to live in New York. And so I do. I design handbags after doing a multitude of things in the past.
We met in a bar in New York. My niece came to town and said, let's go to a gay bar. And we went out, and Scott and Tatina, we walked in, and Scott and Tatina started a conversation. And the rest is history, and that was it. And that was 21 years ago?
21 years ago.
21 years ago, yeah. So Cooper is our third dog together.
No.
Yeah, Blade.
Oh, yeah.
Scott came in on the end of Blade, my Bichon Frise, who I loved. And then we had a divine Yorkie named Teddy, who lived to 18. And Cooper, yep, he's in heaven now.
The prince.
There's Ted. And as Scott says, that Teddy sent us Cooper. And so here's Cooper, our divine 19-month-old Norwich Terrier. Always a different dog, so they're always special and unique.
Ted said, if anybody's going to give you the life of Riley, it's those two, so be really nice to him.
Well, you know, I think both Scott and I have a sort of European sensibility. And even though I am very American and very much a New Yorker, as is Scott, we love that kind of divine, sort of European style of those rooms that just feel magical and layered and personal and collected. And that's what we created here. And again, I have a little bit of a shopping problem. I'm a tiny bit of a shopaholic. So it doesn't really stop. That's why we took the apartment across the hall. So like when Scott's mom comes or our girlfriends come from out of town, we have a guest apartment and I get something else to decorate it. And I'm actually working with Boris and Sharon, who are great architects, to develop a plan over there, and we're going to renovate it and make it super stylish. And
Like a little jewel box.
exactly. And it's also Scott's showroom that he'll use for, his pop-up little handbag things that he does in the city. You know, I'm such a pre-war person, but because of being close to my mother and moving into the building, because my whole family lives here, it made sense to be here. And really, you don't realize it, but if you live in the same building as your family, you do just pop up and say hello and give each other a kiss. Or, you have that wonderful moment of running into each other in the elevator. Or, just life is so hectic and busy in New York. The closer proximity you live to each other, the easier it is to see her. And when my mom was alive, Scott and I would see her every day. And it just meant the world to her in the end of her life that we were so close to her. So that made a lot of sense.
And it's great if you run out of sugar.
Exactly. Oh my God, it's great if you run out of sugar or something. We can go upstairs to my sister's and just go to a refrigerator and borrow something. And then I text her the next day and say, thanks for the ice cream. It's like the Ricardos and the Mertzes, but we're family. As I said earlier, that, I sort of, when we moved, I had this whole wish list of all the things I wanted. And one of the things I'd always adored sort of about these divine French interiors was a tented room. And I wanted to create a tented room. So I found this beautiful Oscar de la Renta stripe that sort of tied the whole apartment together. And my upholsterer tented the entrance foyer for us. And again, the we moved from our other apartment, and we had all these things that I loved, and I'm notoriously known for hating to sell the things that I love. Clients always say, oh my God, that's so wonderful. Is it for sale? I'm like, absolutely not. It's mine and I'm not selling it. So I had this bookcase in our dining room. And when we bought it, it was between our dining room and our living room and our other apartment. It's actually in my first book, The Elegant Life. And it's a room divider. So when we moved here, I had no idea what to do with it. And I thought to myself, low ceilings. I'll put the bookcase and float it in the entrance hall. And so it's just this wonderful, kind of unusual thing of a floating bookcase, and people go crazy over it. And it's also wonderful because I then can have this tall lantern hanging at a height that I really wanted it to, and the bookcase protects you from bumping into it. The walls are covered with artwork and things that I love, and again, it opens up into all the different rooms in the apartment. This is a wonderful Walton Ford that I bought years ago from Paul Kasman. You know, I love art. Luke Edward Hall that I bought when I was doing a project in Athens, and a wonderful little Elizabeth Peyton of Jackie and John. And it felt very nostalgic to me, this picture. It sort of reminded me of my mother and I as when I was a child, sort of walking on the beach and that wonderful feeling of old times. The wonderful paper mache obelisks were from Jane Reitzman's auction, and the bookcase is full of just wonderful books on entertaining, hospitality, and history. And the pineapples were a gift from my sister from Louis Boffording's antique store, he's a great friend. And I love them because a pineapple is the sign of hospitality. So I love the idea of having these wonderful tall pineapples right in our entrance hall. Well, I love animals in my interiors. I love animals in real life. I love animals, period. You know, I'm on the board of a rescue of ARF, Animal Rescue Fund of the Hamptons. So animals are just so important to me. And I use a lot of different types of animals in my decorating. And years ago, I found this wonderful little bulldog at John Roselli sitting on a cushion and just fell in love with him. So he's here and in my entrance hall and been here forever. I've had him for probably 30 years. Too many doors makes me crazy. I just don't like too many doors because I feel like it's just too much. And we already have the hallway to the kitchen, the doorway to the bedrooms, the entrance to the living room, to the powder room hall, and the front door. So I felt like there were a lot of doors in the room. So I love a jib door. And a jib door is a door that sort of disappears into the wall, where the baseboard runs across it, and this door is upholstered. And inside, it's a little bit of a mess. We have a little extra luggage closet where we keep our briefcases, some more vases and holiday things. But again, a little bit of a disaster closet. Everybody has them.
I like it that we really could be anywhere in the world, especially this room. When we have people come in, we give them a big goblet, so we only make them one drink and then they're on their own. They can have as many as they want. Yeah, people just feel like, we could be in Paris today. It's great, and of course all the colors and everything I love.
Yeah, Scott loves color. Scott's a color man. The thing that's sort of fun about the apartment is we have friends who come here all the time, and they'll walk in, or a family member, and they'll be like, oh my God, is that new? I'm like, no.
That happens to me too.
It happens to Scott sometimes too. And it's not. And sometimes it is new and I've snuck it in, but there's a good percentage of the time that it's not. But you know, it's just, there's so much to see, and there's so many layers of things that the whole apartment's kind of a conversation piece. So this is our living room, and to me the living room is always the heart of the house. It's usually the biggest room, and as I say to my clients, it's called your living room because you're meant to live in it. So we use this room, we love it. We don't spend as much time in the living room as we do in the library because there's no television, but whenever we entertain and whenever we have people, it's totally the room we use. It's a very special room to me because I had always again dreamed of having Chinese wallpaper in my living room, the way Jane Reitzman had it in the Palm Beach house, that fabulous house that was torn down. It actually, once I researched it and looked into it, the house was originally Mona von Bismarck's, and it had been decorated by Siri Mon, and she had put up the incredible 18th century Chinese scenic wallpaper. So I wanted Chinese wallpaper in my living room. People very often put it in their dining rooms, but I felt like it was more interesting in my living room. And, you know, of course, when the bill came, I thought to myself, oh my God, you know, my usual thing, what have I done? But then I realized, oh my God, I can't put up art in my living room. So it's actually a great bargain to have Chinese wallpaper in your living room because you really can't hang that much art because the walls are the art. So I commissioned Eve Kaplan to make these wonderful brackets made out of ceramic from Jerry Bland. And I had these beautiful cloisonné deer that I bought at the Paris flea market. I'm a huge fan of Vladimir, who makes these incredible porcelain flowers. And here he and I worked together, and I asked him to create an artificial flower. So it's a combination of a garden rose and a gardenia, which was one of my mother's favorite flowers. And so we created this very, very special plant. And there's ceramic and Tolan. If you're not familiar with Vladimir, he's incredible. I searched high and low for the right coffee table. It made me crazy, and I couldn't find the right thing. So I found this faux bois, sort of wood painted table in Stamford, Connecticut, and it was just painted white with a glass top. And I said, that has great potential. So I bought it, stripped it, gilded it, and then had my workrooms make a wood top and popped antique mirror into it. So now it feels like this sort of wonderful, glamorous piece, where before it felt like something from somebody's porch. The camel tables, a great story. He was one of the first things that I bought when I started collecting, and I fell in love with this table. It was a lot of money for me at the time, and I went and negotiated 3 times with the gentleman who had a store downtown, and I finally convinced him, they were a pair, and I convinced him to sell me one of them, and I love it. Again, back to my love of animals and sort of modern sculptures. The little chair is Lalande, and it's a small little alligator chair, and it was something that was in my Kips Bay room. So whenever I do a Kips Bay room, I sort of create these kind of interiors as if they were made for a client. And every time I do that, I buy one piece of the furniture that I borrow. So I bought this wonderful little Lalande chair. One of my favorite signature things is Lamenak Silk Velvet Tiger and Leopard. And I have a wonderful little chair upholstered in that. I adore little side tables, and we have these made in Paris by Mayer. And one of the new things that I collect is, I was talking to a great friend who Claire Potter, who makes the most beautiful porcelain, and we were talking about different people who were ceramicists and who made porcelain fruits and vegetables. And we were talking about Lady Anne Gordon and how beautiful her things are. And so I've started to collect Lady Anne Gordon ceramics, and I mix them with objects and boxes and things that I pick up on my travels and fall in love with. Another Vladimir plum tree. So we call those tissue nécessaires. And I have dear, dear friends, actually, Laura and Harry Slatkin, who owned the most beautiful decorative store in New York, which was called Slatkin & Company. And we are great, great old friends. And when they had the shop, they made these divine tissue nécessaires. And then they don't have the shop anymore. And it was Harry's brother, who is an incredibly talented decorator and had so many beautiful things made. And now I make them for all my jobs and clients. And this one's very special because it's in that divine Lamenak leopard. I love chairs. And I was told, so I have just, I forget how many, but 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. There are 11 chairs in this room, which is kind of crazy, but I love chairs. And I was talking to a great dealer about chairs, and he was saying that somebody who loves chairs loves antiques, because the chair is such a great example of all the different styles and periods of furniture. And here is just a wonderful gondola chair that's made out of paper mache with gold and mother of pearl inlaid into them. And I love unusual things. I love French furniture, wonderful little beautiful side table, ormolu 18th century with a porphyry top. And this was one of my favorite things that I bought recently from the Hubert de Givenchy sale. And it's just a divine candlestick, and I just loved it. I'm having a very hard time, believe it or not, finding the right size candle for it, but we've been looking like crazy. I love beautiful candlesticks. They're all over the house as well. I love chinoiserie. I love cloisonne. I think you need to have 2 seating areas in a room, and I think it's kind of, it creates an atmosphere where people can gather and go into smaller groups and split up. But I mean, I like 1 big seating area. So if we're 8 or 10 people, you know, if we're having a dinner, we sit here after dinner and chat and have coffee. If we're having people over for cocktails and it's a big group, we sit over here. This is a more intimate area, and it's divine because you have the light here. But I always do 2 seating areas in a living room. I think that it's friendlier and it's cozy, and people like to sit sometimes in smaller areas. I love formal furniture and I love unusual things, but I love a little bit of bamboo or wicker in a room. So this chair's a crazy story. So we bought this chair in Hudson, New York, and I was with a client, and she said to me, we bought the chair for her, and she was like, you know what, Alex, I don't know. I don't think I want that chair. I'm never going to use that chair. It's too delicate. I said, okay, no problem. I said, I'll take it. And I kept it. So every time she comes over, she's like, I really should have bought that chair. I'm like, you should have, but I'm happy you didn't because it's mine. And I upholstered it in satin, which I love that juxtaposition of bamboo and satin. These gueridons are very special to me because they were my mother's. They were from her living room in Southampton. The lamps are mine for Christopher Spitzmiller, and Chris and I are great friends, and my apartment is full of Spitzmiller lamps. We love them, and I use them all the time on my projects, and Chris custom makes, and he makes 2 lamps for me. One is this one, which is the Alex lamp, and the other one is the Ophelia lamp, named after my divine sister. You know, the cute thing about Scott is that, you know, so when Scott and I first met in the beginning, he was like, oh my God, I don't know how you live with all this stuff. There's so much. So then sort of 10 years into our relationship, maybe 15 years, we go to an Elle Decor show house that we're invited to downtown. And it's very modern. And we're walking through and thinking, oh my God,
minimalist, austere.
So Scott walks in, he's like, I don't understand how people live this way. It's so austere. There's no layering. It's not cozy. I just don't understand it. So I would say Scott's a total convert.
A complete 180.
So now I'm taking you to our favorite room where we spend so much of our time. I don't want to say favorite. I actually shouldn't say favorite, but the room where we come home and just luxuriate, our library, and it's filled with books. Again, I'm a super bookaholic. I just keep buying books. I can't stop buying books. I love buying books. You know, I don't read them all, but I certainly look at the pictures and I absorb things and I read the sections that are interesting to me. But I can't say that I've read them cover to cover. But I do sort of fantasize about the day that I retire, which will probably never happen because I don't want to retire, that I will sit around and read all my wonderful books. The sofa is super comfortable. It's very deep and luxurious. And Scott lies down and plays games on his iPad while we watch TV in here. I sit in this chair and watch TV. And Cooper sits in that tiny little footstool over there, lying down and luxuriates on that little chair right there. You can see the digging marks from where he digs. It's borderline on being ripped, so we're going to have to reupholster that. I love miniature furniture because I just love that. So there are miniature furniture all over the house that we use as little step stools for the dogs. These are a pair of wonderful 18th century chairs that I slip covered, sort of seeing the way Bunny Mellon and Pauline de Rothschild had slip covered French chairs. And I just love that. I kept the Fortuny and the fabric underneath, but I slip covered them just to have something sort of different. I always believe in having plants and flowers in the house because I think it makes the house feel alive. It's like having pets. It's so important, and it really makes a house a home to have living things in it. It feels so much more, it just feels natural and real, and I love the concept of nature coming into the house. I think it makes it just divine and cozy and real. You know, as you can see, so this is something that I do. If you look at the sofa closely, you'll see how many different fabrics are on the sofa. So this is such a me thing that I do. I take fabrics and I cut and paste them and make them my own. So this fabric actually, it's a wonderful Schumacher fabric, but I cut it up and use it. I took the border off and used it on the cushions. I upholstered the body in accountant and tout velvet. The wonderful trim on the bottom is so much fun. It's a great Clarence House passementerie that's on there. And then this is a divine Carolina Irving fabric. And then I've sort of used wonderful fringes and trims from Samuel & Sons, and then a wonderful velvet welt on the edge of it, sort of to tie it into the body. Again, Christopher Spitzmiller lamps, and I love making custom lampshades. I love unusual lampshades. So what's super fun about these is these two lampshades are made out of the same batik tablecloth. So this is the border of the batik tablecloth, and that's the center. So they're complementing, but they're not in the same fabric. And again, the bookcases are filled with wonderful little objects and memories, and that wonderful little elephant evening bag on the side table was my mother's, the little jeweled bag. And here's my Christopher Spitzmiller gourd that we use as a candy jar. And love, what's the candy? It's all kinds of different gummies and yummy candies. Needs a little refresh. For me, you know, again, it's like when people say, what's your favorite project? What's your favorite thing in your apartment? Everything has a story. It's so hard for me to choose. I do remember, so, you know, when COVID happened and we moved to the Hamptons, I always say it was like that scene from Gone with the Wind when Aunt Pitty Pat was leaving Atlanta and the house was burning down and she was loading up the carriage with all her favorite things. I was doing exactly the same thing because, you know, when COVID happened, we didn't know when we were coming back to New York. So I filled that car up with objects, and I guess I just took so many of my favorite things out of the house. You know, my Buccellati flatware and my collection of Schlumberger and my favorite, you know, little Lalande pieces and, you know, so many of my favorite objects and things, salt and pepper shakers that I love from Asprey, and, you know.
That kind of stems from your mother, too. When she would go to a hotel, like when you went to Greece.
Yeah, when we went to Italy, when we went to Venice.
You were 8 years old and you came back when you were 10, so she would have furniture brought in and paintings to a hotel room.
Yes, my mother, because we would go and stay for a month or 2 months. We would go for the summer, and she would have her things shipped to the hotel so that it felt personal. I mean, I'm from a long line of crazies. So now we come to our dining room. And again, I wanted all three rooms to open up onto each other. And we have pocket doors. So if you want to do a dining room reveal, you can. Or after dinner, if you want to clean the dining room, you can close the doors and the dining room can be clean. The table has leaves, and it's a wonderful sort of 20th century dining table that I bought at Christie's at auction. And the chairs, we have 12 of them, but they're splattered all over the apartment. The chandelier is tole. The curtains are satin. The floors are stenciled everywhere. I love Cooper. Please don't chew on that wire. Cooper. No wire chewing. Cooper loves to chew on a wire, especially a silk cord. This guy's wonderful. He's a great story. So I'd been to Paris and seen these incredible busts that the Rothschilds had made for a party and fell in love with them, but they weren't for sale. They were in somebody's home. So I came back from Paris and I went to Hudson and I found this great bust and I gave it to Creel and Gow, and they created this beautiful sort of shell grotto and rock coral bust for me that I'd always dreamt of. And it took like a year, and we went back for sort of fittings. It was like making an incredible custom-made ball gown. And I went back and they'd show me different elements and put it together, and I love it. I love these little French standing lamps from Paris. They're very special. We have them made for us, and they're divine. I love they're sort of petite, and I use them all around the room to light the rooms because I hate dark corners. The walls are upholstered in a wool felt to match the curtains. And then I use nail heads sort of in a wonderful pattern to create paneling. We sit in the dining room and eat, but we don't entertain all the time. And I love the idea that the dining room also becomes like a reading room, and so that I can sit here and open books and look through them. You know, my books are so important to me, and they're my inspiration, and sort of they're full of the history of decorating and the things that I love. So I'll often just in the afternoon sit and read books and look at them. Always have 9 yellow lemons for good luck on my dining room table. Fresh 9 yellow lemons. I drive my housekeeper crazy. We're always buying fresh lemons. We have drawers and drawers full of lemons. I mean, it's just all I do is refresh my lemons. And, you know, being Greek, I'm very superstitious. So it's very important to me. Luck is very important. These are the wonderful big oversized William Yoward glasses that we use for cocktails. So we have 36 of these, and when we have people for drinks, even for like a buffet dinner, we use these. And they're fabulous because you make one big cocktail and then somebody's set for a while.
He likes an Aperol spritz. I like to put a little ice, one of those big ice cubes, because I'll show you later the big glasses that we serve. And I think that with the champagne, it cools it down perfectly and cuts the acidity of it.
Sort of our house drink.
I guess they call it a piscine.
Right. Our house drink is a big glass of champagne with ice. To me, it's about hospitality is about being a relaxed and calm host. I think that you set the tone for the party. And I think there's nothing worse than a nervous host. So you can be as nervous and tweaky and stressed before anybody walks in the door. But the moment the first guest walks in the door, all bets are off. You need to enjoy yourself, you need to relax, and you need to be calm and confident. And also, I also believe that you need to have a lot of options for things to people. For drinks, you know, so many people are vegetarian. If you serve a big dinner, you should have some vegetarian options. I never serve, well, I don't like fish, but I never serve fish because I think that fish, it's just too polarizing. Some people don't eat fish. So, you know, when you're planning your menu, I think you have to be thoughtful in terms of what people like and don't like. I don't think you have to be diet conscious. You know, I don't think people go to your house for dinner to eat diet food. So I think it can be rich and yummy and delicious. And, you know, it's about just being gracious, I think, and making your guests feel welcome and comfortable, and that nothing's too precious to use or sit on. And if something happens and something spills, clean it up, fix it. You know, don't pay attention to it. Don't make a big deal about it. Just be relaxed and gracious. And I think that's the key to successful entertaining.
True. Remarkably, we haven't had too many disasters happen, like a red wine here and there. Usually we just have people sit at the table with red wine and don't serve it in the room.
Well, I do believe that you don't serve red wine at a cocktail party. You know, you serve champagne and you serve white wine and you serve clear drinks because red wine is a little dangerous. So we wanted our kitchen to be something entirely different. So again, I strapped the entire kitchen with mirror. I worked on the apartment with the architects Fairfax and Salmons, who are super talented, and we've done many projects together. And we created this wonderful mirrored room where everything is hidden behind the dishwasher, you know, is mirrored. The pull-out garbage is mirrored. All the drawers are mirrored. The refrigerator's mirrored. We wanted something that felt like a bar and didn't feel so much like a kitchen. Because in New York, we tend to go out to dinner so much. I wanted something that just felt friendly and divine. So it really is like a big bar, but it is our kitchen. It's totally practical and has everything we need in it. So welcome to the primary bedroom. Again, as you can see, full of these Cole Porter bookcases because of my book problem. That I'm a bookaholic. I've got so many books, so I had to fill the bedroom with bookcases as well. I always love an interesting bed, so all my beds have kind of wonderful headboards and upholstered box springs. Here we have these wonderful lion paw feet on the bed, again, showing my love of animals. Divine side table on Scott's side of the bed by Tony Victoria over there. collection of art. Rob Wynn, Elizabeth Peyton, Lalonde. Just, again, and it's all about sort of the mix of high and low. I bought this wonderful sort of little sculptural painting that's, made out of pieces of wood in Portobello Road. And it was just right after 9/11, so I had a hard time getting it back. I was lucky enough to be online with a flight attendant who actually took the painting onto the plane for me and put it in my overhead, so it was there. So, all of these things, again, have such kind of charming memories. The sunburst mirror over the bed is another signature thing that I do, and that's made for me by Eve Kaplan, Jerry Bland, who I love, and he's such a great antique dealer, and he has Eve who makes these beautiful things. Christopher Spitzmiller lamps. All my little collections of things, a beautiful Vladimir flower, charming painting by a French artist that I bought at auction. Sort of, again, I love the feeling of Orientalism. Us by Rob Wynn, an artist who I love. So I love these. So now we actually started making these. I have the original in the Hamptons, and it was a Billy Baldwin step stool that had belonged to Cole Porter, the original that I have, and now I've copied it, and I do them in leopard and tiger and this wonderful cotton tiger that's very durable, so Cooper can jump up and down on the bed and doesn't hurt his back. The chair is very special to me, and this chair was my mother's. It was from her house, and I love her. My mother was a great inspiration to me, and she really was this incredible Auntie Mame figure who inspired me and took me all over the world and exposed me to the wonders of life and beauty and travel and objects and antiques and fashion. And this was her chair. And then the fabric on the chair was from one of my first projects that I did, and the walls were upholstered in Fortuny. And when the client redid the apartment and changed it from a formal dining room into a family room, we ripped the Fortuny off the walls, and I used the Fortuny from their dining room, the scraps that were going to be thrown out, and I upholstered this chair in it on the Fortuny on the reverse. So that chair just has a whole bunch of sentimental memories to me. I love rope furniture, and here's a gilded footstool that's rope. I love my air tables. So everybody sort of has a different approach to closets. For me personally, I like an open closet. I like to walk in. So I wake up in the morning, I close these two doors, I walk into my dressing room, and I go into my bathroom. I shower, get ready, and then I come out into my dressing room and dress and leave for the day. So here is my closet. It's a little jam-packed. You always have to edit to sort of keep the space working. I'm a big blue blazer man, so these are my blazers that I wear during the day, pants, shirts, sweaters, drawers of socks and underwear. This is pretty much, over here is evening clothes. I love shoes, so I have tons of shoes. These are these wonderful lob shoes that I have made for myself with rubber soles. Loafers are here. Whole little section over here of Belgian loafers that I wear back and forth to the country and sort of use as slippers and wear around. Sportswear. Hats are up there. Over here is shirts and sweaters. And then on the two sides, more space for shoes, because that's, my favorite. And then I go into my bathroom. Again, covered with artwork. So my bathroom, the walls are covered with artwork because when I moved from my other apartment, and, we really couldn't, there just wasn't that much wall space by the time you've used all the bookcases and all the things. And I'd collected all these wonderful drawings and paintings and photographs. So I covered my bathroom walls with art. So again, it's a wonderful sort of memory place for me as I'm getting ready in the morning. I have all the memories of my life and the pieces that I bought from different trips and different places. Okay, so I've told you about my dressing room, and now we're going to go into Scott's dressing room. So Scott's dressing room is a real room.
My dressing room.
Scott's dressing room is a real room. And
so I was on a business trip in Paris in the early 2000s. And I was not at the Ritz. I was staying at a hotel. And I loved it, though, because it had a 4-poster bed, and it was all the same fabric. So that's what I wanted to create here. I said, Alex can have a 4-poster. Betty says, no, the room will not permit that, but you can have a coronet. So
Right. So that
there
was
it
sort
is.
of music to my ears that Scott,
Right here.
when I showed him the scheme, the only comment he had was, well, I love it. It's beautiful, but can I have a 4-poster? Can I have a canopy on my bed? Were his exact words. And I said, I don't think you can have a canopy, but you can have a coronet. And so we created this divine coronet. And we call this the Snoratorium. So we sort of do this for all our clients. It's really nice to have a second bedroom where if somebody
Can't sleep.
has a cold, needs, sometimes you're just super tired. You need to sleep in your own room. So it's great. So we both use this. I sometimes sleep here. Scott sometimes sleeps here.
And I love the hidden doors because, as you can see, every corner has things in it. Like this is shoes. Over here, oh, you saw that? Over here is sweaters, belts, things like that, pocket squares, and then other things here.
And that's the main closet.
Ooh. And Cooper likes it in there too.
So that's Scott's main closet. But again, we're also really lucky because we have this amazing apartment across the hall. So Scott's closet gets changed in and out for seasons. So this is winter, and then it gets changed out for summer.
Don't close
Coopy,
that door.
come on out of there.
Here's another one like this. Oh, you can see it from this way. See? Like sportier things.
Well, it feels very French, and I think that's sort of Scott, when he went to Paris, he fell in love with this divine hotel room that was all in a beautiful toile. And
Everything, the bed, everything.
yeah, and so
The
we love.
sheets,
Well, it's
everything was
very
the same
French.
fabric.
It's
I
the
loved
French
it.
that do it,
Yeah.
and it's super pretty. This is a beautiful Manuel Canova fabric from Count and Tout.
Tree of life, no.
Well, it has a tree of life element to it. Yes, absolutely. It's not a tree of life, but it has that kind of feeling. Birds and flowers, and it's super pretty.
What does the word home mean to each of you?
Where your heart is.
Yeah, it's like home. It is where your heart is, but your heart is so tied in to all the memories and the collections and the personal things that you have in your home. And I think that's what makes our home so special because it's so full of memories, things that were my mother's, things that we bought on trips, things that, we brought back, things that I've collected. Everything has a story. And so it's very special for me because my home is the history of our life.
Thanks for watching. For more Homeworthy content, be sure to like and subscribe.